Well, this episode, we're going to talk about classroom management, which, hey, if you're an educator, I don't have all the answers. Lauren doesn't have all the answers, but we got some tips and tricks, things that think can help. I don't have any notes, so apparently Lauren knows way more than I do.
I'm just a note person.
Hey, let's get into this episode of the Choose Well program, talking about classroom management.
Yeah.
I have Lauren here with me, and we're talking more about classroom management. So, hey, where do we start with classroom management? I don't even know where to start.
I think with classroom management, you either feel like you've got it or you don't. There's like no in between. That's the impression I get.
Okay, either you got it or you don't, but you have to have some approach. You need some type of approach to classroom management.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your class. What are some things that you do for classroom management?
There's 4 main things I really do for classroom management. Okay. The first one is have a plan. And I know that sounds like, duh, of course, right? Like, of course you need a plan. But there's so many times where educators will go into the day like, I don't know what I'm doing. I got too busy last night. Whatever the reason is, if you don't have a plan for your day, it's going to be a rough day.
So it's not even having a plan for classroom management. It's having a plan for your day.
For your day.
And that's part of classroom management.
Absolutely. Because if you go in there and you don't have anything for your students to do, it's going to be hard. One of my favorite professors in college, Dr. Sarah Johnson, she used to say the brain needs a job. And if the brain doesn't have a job, then you're inviting chaos into your classroom. With, middle school especially, you don't really want them to find something to do.
You need to have some structure in your day. So have a plan that you know what you want to do for the given day.
Yeah.
But you always got to be flexible as well. But
Absolutely.
You have to have a plan.
Absolutely. Have a plan, have jobs for them to do, have assignments for them to do, have backups.
Okay.
Backups to the backups.
All right.
Yeah.
So have structure in your classroom. So what else?
Yeah. Another thing would be to communicate your expectations clearly to your students.
That one's mine right there.
Yeah. Yeah, they have to know what you want from them. And this is not just a one-time thing. I think a lot of educators make the mistake of, I told them my expectations in August.
You got to remind them.
Oh, it's every single day.
I call it my smackdown. And my mine is a little different because I'm not with them every day.
Right.
But I do my smackdown when I do my assemblies or classroom visit. I have to remind them, hey, here are my 4 rules on respect. Yeah. These are my expectations, and I'm going to follow up with those too. Sure. And that's one of the things I see with teachers too. Let's say you have your rules in your classroom. You help the kids understand them. You get them to agree with them, but then you have to follow up with them.
Yes. Yeah. The follow through is key.
And I've seen, let's say for an example, one of the rules is you raise your hand in class. And I've seen teachers who, that's the rule, and they may ask a question and no kids are answering, and kid just blurts out an answer and they accept the answer because they're excited people are participating, right?
Yeah.
And you got it. And one of my tricks is not to say, hey, you raise your hand. But like, hey, do I see a hand? Do I see a hand? And kind of make it like I'm letting you know I expect this. So it's not always like top down hard.
Oh, no.
But it is, how do we reinforce that to help them understand this is still important?
For sure. I'll just raise my hand. If they're still talking, I just raise my hand and I look at them like this. And then usually their hand goes up. They might still be talking, but their hand will go up, and then I'll call on them and they'll restart what they were saying.
Right. And I really want that. So having expectations, what are some things that have worked for you as far as expectations?
So like specific expectations?
Yeah. Like, because I think sometimes I see teachers who have rules and the rules are like 12 pages long. Like they'll put them up on the walls like 12 things, right?
Right.
So what has worked for you and what hasn't worked for you when it comes to setting those rules or expectations for your students?
So I'm in the belief field or whatever you want to call it that you pick your battles.
Okay.
And so my expectations are based on that. I pick my battles. And so there's some things like, pencil sharpening in class. I know a lot of teachers are, there's a specific 5 minutes in the day where their pencil gets to be sharpened. And so, instead of saying like, you may sharpen your pencil from 8:20 to 8:25 a.m. every day, I instead say, we talk about when is the appropriate time to do things like sharpen a pencil or ask to go to the bathroom or anything that they need to get done. And so we talk about the appropriate times, and then we practice the appropriate timing. And I might even remind them, I might say, hey, this would be an appropriate time for you to sharpen your pencil, or this would be an appropriate time for you to ask to go to the bathroom if you need to go. And we model that the first couple weeks of school. And then as we go through the year, they might ask to sharpen their pencil in the middle of my lecture, and I'll ask a return question. I'll say, is this an appropriate time? And they know.
Right,
like,
right.
oh, no. Okay, let's wait for an appropriate time.
Right.
Instead of just getting mad and saying, this isn't, don't do that.
So you pick your battles when it comes to how you respond to things, and even what things are really that important.
Exactly.
Okay, but do you set some kind of, and I may be putting you on the spot here, like, you walk in, you get your kids new, do you set some rules, some basic things in place that everybody understands? What are some of those things you kind of set up as, here are the expectations for our classroom when you walk in this room? Here's some of them. Yeah.
One of the biggest ones is respect. And obviously, I think that's big for everybody, and it's such a big term. But we take time and we talk about what respect is, and we talk about how it's my job to also respect them. I think a lot of times, we as educators can come at kids and we'll say, you're not being respectful. But we have to step back and ask ourselves, am I respecting them?
Right.
And I think that's hard to do a lot of times. I know that it's been hard for me to do in the past because it's like, well, no, I'm the adult. I don't need to. But that's not true. They're people too, and so we need to respect them as well. And I think when we respect them, they're more likely to respect us. And so we have that really honest conversation. So that's one of the conversations we have as far as expectations go.
That is my favorite, respect. And you've seen my middle school, usually middle school to high school assemblies, I start with respect. And honestly, Lauren, I've been doing it with professional development too.
Oh,
even with the teachers, just because sometimes I would expect teachers, and I thought when I first started, doing professional development, I thought teachers would be the best behaved, that would be the most attentive. And I'm like, what's wrong with y'all?
We're the worst.
Like talking to each other.
We're the worst.
And I'm like, wait, how do you expect your kids to do it? Y'all not even doing it, right?
Yeah.
So, but I start with my respect rules, and I said, here are my respect rules. And the first one's for me. I will respect you, and I define what that looks like.
Right.
I won't embarrass you. I won't hurt anybody's feelings. I won't, I'm going to tell you what, I'm not going to talk down to you. I'm not going to, I kind of explain what that means because I'm going to respect you. And I even tell them, listen, I understand why sometimes us adults don't respect you because we don't understand y'all. Like, we were kids and we forgot that we did stuff, but y'all do some crazy stuff, and they kind of laugh.
Yeah.
They admit it. They do.
Oh, they do.
And we just don't get it. I said, listen, when I was a kid, I got in trouble a lot. I did bad things, but I never posted on the internet for everybody to see.
Right.
And they just start cracking up because they'll do stuff that they know is wrong, take pictures of it and post it online.
I know.
Like, y'all smoking marijuana and y'all taking a video talking about some what's up.
Yeah, what is wrong with you guys?
But I and I do it in a not some of it in a jokeful way, but I kind of talk about that. But I connect with them on that.
Yes.
But ultimately, I'm saying I will respect you. In return, I request you respect me, and then I explain what that means for me in this context. And I think that's so important.
I think so too. I think your buy-in is much higher when you do it that way.
Yeah. What else? Respect is a big one. Do you go down like don't do this, don't, or do you just kind of make an umbrella of respect, and then when things come up, you kind of what's your approach?
I used to do it that way, just make an umbrella respect, but especially in middle school, you have to just be so obvious with certain things. And so I have learned that it is important to talk through the don't do this, don't do this. But I try to make it fun and lighthearted. And so one of the things that we have to talk about a lot of times is the bathroom. Because middle schoolers love, I don't know why, it's gross, but they love to play in the bathroom.
Like just hang out and play in the bathroom?
Hang out. The bathroom is the place to be.
That's strange.
It's weird. It's really odd. But so, and I've seen a lot of bathroom related things in my time as a teacher. And so like
what? I don't understand. What do they do in the bathroom?
Slip and slide.
On the bathroom floor?
Uh-huh.
They put soap and water.
Every year.
And slide on the bathroom floor?
Every year.
I'm really out of touch.
Like, why? First of all,
why? Why the bathroom floor?
And so we talk about that. And, of course, when you say that, they're all like, ew, that's gross. We would never do that. I'm like, no, just wait. The office will call me. I guarantee it. But
they're not even that big. The bathroom's not even that big.
No, they're not. They're not that big. Wow. But, so we talk about stuff like that. Here is why we don't slip and slide on the bathroom floor. We talk about we don't wrestle in the bathroom. Yeah, like it should be obvious, right? It's things that should be obvious.
Are these boys? Do they know how bad an aim they have on?
Usually, it's boys, and we talk about that. We do. We talk about that. And so I mean, but just going through those things, it puts it in their mind that, oh, you know, maybe that's not a good idea. And it helps to a certain extent. It doesn't clear all the bathroom slip and slide cases, but it does help.
So, hey, respect the teacher. I'll respect you, and don't do slip and slide in the bathroom.
Right.
So it's important. But it's important to go through those things.
It is.
And establish their understanding. These are expectations in the classroom, in our school.
Yeah.
Now let's move forward.
Yeah.
When do you start to see them buck up against those, and you have to start re-explaining them or showing the discipline or showing the consequences of them?
Immediately. You know, one of the things that I found in my years teaching is that the first 2 to 2.5 months are typically the hardest, because that's when they're really going to push those boundaries. Are you serious when you said XYZ? Are you really going to give me this consequence if I do this, or this? And so one of the things that I've noticed is that if I can be super consistent with my consequences, super consistent with my expectations, by the end of October, we've hit an enjoyable stride. And we're really not having to do very many consequence-related things.
Because you were on top of it.
Because we were on top of it.
Okay.
But if I let that little stuff slide right away, or if I think, I don't want to deal with this right now, or I don't have time for this right now, or I don't feel like writing the referral, or whatever it is, it's going to make the rest of my year so much more difficult.
And that's kind of parenting too. And you're going to learn that with yours. Like with ours that are 7 and 11 now and 29. But but we learned, like, when they were young, to stay on top of those things. It was hard. It was bothersome. But now we've trained them and helped them have an understanding that, look, this is not acceptable.
Right.
And sometimes it's hard because you're tired. You don't want to do it. But it's making an investment now for a great payoff later. And that can happen within your school year. For sure.
So that's, whenever I talk to new teachers, I always tell them, stay on top of your expectations. The first 2 months are going to feel like pulling teeth. You're going to feel like you're not getting anywhere. And I always tell them, by the end of October, a week will just come and it's going to be like, hey, we didn't have any issues this week. And it will happen, but you just have to stay on top of it.
What would you say to someone, because what is your personality? Are you more reserved or more like introvert, extrovert? Because I know some teachers are different personalities. Like, I am definitely a different personality. I'm like, this is the way it's going to be. You know, I grew up with that when it comes to kids. I've been working with kids for years, so that's my personality. But some don't have that strong personality. What would you say to teachers have like a more reserved, more introverted personality?
Well, this is an interesting question, because in my personal life, I'm an extreme introvert. Like, I have a really hard time going up and introducing myself to people or going and talking to people. I'm really introverted. But in the classroom, I found that if I have expectations and if I am clearly communicating those expectations, then I don't have to worry about myself being such an introvert, because I have rules for the whole classroom to follow. All of us follow those rules. And so in the classroom, I'm not as much of an introvert, and I've
seen you, so you.
I know. In the classroom, I'm very much like, hey, this is the way it is. So you need to meet my expectations or you will meet consequences instead. And
whoa, see, even the way you said that.
And they get that. And it's important to be that clear with them.
So we got classroom management tip, set the boundaries, set it up, stay consistent on it. What else you got?
Be kind and consistent with all rules and all students.
You sound like you have some personal experience of not doing that.
So it's so hard when you have that tough class and you have those few troublemakers, and you just want to nail them every single time.
Lauren.
I know. But it's like, I told you not to do that 25 times, and here you are again. And
when I say that, I'm not putting you down, because I know what that's like. The kids that, for me, I was just playing dodgeball with a group of kids at Vista, and I was playing this game we were playing, and I was saying that I remember playing with some kids in my after school program, and the kids who would cheat and kind of bend the rules, and I hit them with the ball. I didn't feel it. Oh, you go feel this one. It wouldn't hurt them, because but you still felt that, like, oh, I'm gonna get you. Because you need to get it, but you have to be consistent, kind of consistent. And
one of the hardest things is, and we all face this, but we have, you have this kid, and this kid has been good from day one. They don't step out of the line. They are perfect. You never have to call home. When you do call home, they are so amazing. But, if they step out of line, you still have to meet them with that same fair consequence. Mm-hmm. And in doing that, I like to call it my street cred. It goes up because those kids that, you've been, for lack of a better term, fighting with or struggling with all year, they see that you're being fair and they see that you're being consistent and that, if anybody else does it, they get it too.
It's not just me. She's not picking on me.
Yeah.
And it's easy to like the kids that like you. I think we do get into where we love these kids. We're doing the best for them. So it's easy to love the kids that love you or like you. Yeah. It's harder to love the kids who don't like you.
Yeah.
Who get at you, who do things to undermine you.
Yeah.
But they need that same kindness and consistency.
Right. And it goes back to one of the conversations we've had in a different podcast of, not taking it personally. They may not like me as a person, and that's okay. Not everybody is going to like me. I have to come to terms with that.
I tell that to kids all the time, and that's something we talk to educators about too. Yeah. Every kid's not going to like you.
Yeah, and that's okay.
But they need to respect you and see that you're consistent, you're kind, that they, even if they don't like you, they can see, you know what, but they are doing right by everybody.
Yeah, and that's my goal, is that even if you don't like me, or even if I don't perceive that you like me, because a lot of times it's my own perception. Mm-hmm. I've had kids who have, we have been head to head all year, and at the end of the year they'll come up and say, "You're my favorite teacher." You're like, "What? Who, me? Who you talking to?" What are you doing to the teachers who aren't your favorite teachers? Like, what? So you just ask them, who don't you like? Because I need to talk to them. Right? So yeah, you just have to be that kind and consistent. I like that. Yeah. All right, what else you got? One more. Foster a classroom of safety and mutual respect. Okay. And this is a hard one to do. But I think that, as educators, we can tell when our students come in and they're off. That's a term we use a lot, is, that kid is off today, meaning they're not themselves. And so when we see that, we need to take the time, even if we feel like we don't have time, even if we have a lesson to do, we need to take the time to pull that kid out of class and say, "Hey, what's going on?" and have the conversation with them. And a lot of times the kid will open up, and sometimes they won't, but be willing to give them the break to say, "Hey, I can see something's wrong. If you want to talk about it, I would love to talk to you. If not, that's fine. Take a break on the ramp or outside or on the bench or whatever. Come back in 5 minutes and let's have a good day." Kids need that. And when you give that to them, it fosters that safe environment. And actually, you said earlier in a different podcast, we keep promoting different podcasts we've done. That's a good thing. It is. You talked about kids need to be seen. Mm-hmm. And so when they come in and you can say they're a little off, when you mention that to them, especially if you don't say it in front of everybody, "Hey, what's wrong with you today? You look kind of funny," right? Right. But you pull them aside, say, "Hey," and give them a moment, and they feel seen. They feel validated and valued. Even if they don't tell you what's going on, you've opened up the door and you said to them by your actions, "I care about you enough to say, hey, I see something not right." And even if okay, I know that, so then may not call on you during the class today. Yeah, exactly. Or even, a lot of times I'll have girls come in and you can just see they're about to cry. Right. Their little eyes are all watery and they're barely holding it together. And one of the things I found is just saying, "Would you like to go to the bathroom?" It's not calling them out that they're about to cry. It's not saying, "Are you okay?" And then the whole class is, "Are you okay?" Yeah, that's bad. Yeah. But if, "Do you need to go to the bathroom?" And, they'll nod and you give them that chance to deal with their emotions. Because again, kids are people too. Right. And it's so important to see that. And what I see that too, when it comes back to later, let's say someone else having a bad day and they don't give space for them, you can pull them and say, "Hey, remember when I looked out for you? Let's look out for other people too." Yeah. It's gonna be like, "Okay, you're right. I see." Because sometimes they don't remember that. But they won't remember in the moment. Right. But if you remind them gently, "Hey, that person's having a bad day. Can we give them space today? Like we gave you space that time." And I just think, I think that word is reciprocity, right? It teaches them that even in how you interact with them. Yeah. Just safety and mutual respect, right? Yeah. The first thing I thought about is having a safe class, safe from jokes and sarcasm, in the sense that
some teachers have a sense of sarcasm and they joke with certain students.
Yes.
But I want teachers to evaluate this. Every kid doesn't like that.
Right.
And not only kids, let's say you, I don't know why we use Johnny all the time when you give examples. Let's say you joke with Johnny and you guys have a relationship. You can be sarcastic with him and you go back and forth, right? But Melissa may feel uncomfortable even watching you do that with Johnny.
Yeah.
Because she may feel like, oh, what if I'm next?
Right.
What if he turns on me next?
Right.
Because it may spill over from you and Johnny to his friend Ben and to you know Jonathan, whoever.
Yeah.
And then now this girl may feel like, or a boy for that matter, who may not want that. So I think to create a safe environment for everybody, mutual respect, we should get away from the sarcasm stuff.
Yeah, I think sarcasm is it can be a really dangerous thing in the classroom. Especially when it's pointed at somebody specific. And
it can get out of hand really quickly.
Yes.
Before you know it. Because if a student gets back to us, then we get back on the student and you're going to be one up each other. And that's just the nature of it.
It is.
You're jabbing each other, ribbing each other. And it becomes a very unsafe place for a lot of people because it's only one thing that can be said wrong that everything goes wrong.
Right.
And I've seen instances where the teacher would do it with certain students and then it got out of hand and the teacher got offended and the kid got in trouble.
Right.
But you started this. And not only that, I think when you do that as the one in the room, you create an environment where that kind of talk is okay. Yeah. And it leads to them respecting you even less.
For sure.
And I think having a safe environment for everybody and keeping that in mind that even though you like jokes like that or you like doing things, everybody's not built the same way. So I would say try to stay away from the sarcasm and the cutting jokes and the ribbing because it's just not a good thing to have in your total environment.
No, and I think, you can joke with kids and it not be sarcastic.
Right.
You can have fun with them. You can joke about the curriculum even or what you're learning about and have it not be sarcastic or pointed at somebody specific because it is good to laugh with the kids.
Right. And I try to make a distinction. Try to laugh with people and not at people.
Exactly.
Make sure you're not making somebody feel the butt of the joke all the time.
Exactly.
And if you can figure out how to be funny without making somebody feel stupid, then you have an environment of fun.
For sure.
But when anybody feels like it's about me, I feel like I'm ostracized, you're going to have problems long term.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree with that.
Now, you have on your sheet of paper, it says classroom management tips and tricks. Any tricks?
I just gave them all to you.
Those I would call those tips, but I was like, I thought, tips and tricks might be a little different. So
okay, so a couple tricks that I have. Number one, going back to another podcast we've done, a sticky note can change a life.
Okay.
Sticky notes, positive reinforcement is huge. Not always, because there's going to be times where you have to bring the hammer down. But
you can do it positively.
You can. So those positive notes home are huge.
Or even to the kid themselves, like just writing a note and leave a sticky note on the desk when you walk in the room. Hey, I appreciate you did this yesterday, or affirming something about them. Yesterday I saw you, encourage another student. I just want to say that made me smile. You know, it can be something really simple.
And then the other trick I would say is that when I am feeling calm and organized and put together and ready for the day goes better. And
you know what? I think I agree with that. But also, just like the young lady you mentioned, you pulled she was about to cry, you pulled her aside, or the kid that walked in was.
Yeah.
When you're having a bad day, to acknowledge that.
Yes.
That reciprocity. You know what, today, guys, I'm just, and maybe you want to tell them what happened. Maybe you don't. Maybe say, hey, I had a family issue come up this week and it's been really hard. So I've just been kind of thinking about that. So I'm not, I'm just going through that, just so you know. And I think for you as the leader in the classroom, to let your students see that you're human too, I think can go a long way.
And be willing to apologize.
Oh, that's a huge one.
Oh, it's so
If you're
hard.
a parent, learn how to do that too. Like, learn how to apologize to your own kids too.
Yeah. Because, I've had bad days in the classroom, and it's not the kids sometimes. It's, whatever is going home, or I'm stressed about something else, and I'll come into the classroom, and it's not that I'm cranky with them necessarily, but I have a really short fuse. And so it's like, no, I am done with your shenanigans today.
Shenanigans. You use this word?
I do. And they love it. But I'll be like, no, I'm done. You need to sit down and you need to be quiet, and we're done right now. And I'll have to go back, usually I'll sit down and I'll think, wow, okay, that's not fair. It's not about them. And so I'll take a deep breath and swallow my pride and stand up, and I'll be like, you know what, guys, I'm sorry. I do need you to work quietly, but I also am sorry for the tone I used, or I'm sorry that I'm a little bit short fused today. And I mean, that by itself creates buy-in.
And that I'll give you a tip too. And I think it comes with what you said, be reflective.
Yeah.
Just learn how to be reflective over your day. End of the day, just reflect over your day. What went well, what didn't go well, what could I have done differently? I think that is a huge thing for classroom management, because again, I think my job or your job as a teacher, and mine when I'm in the classroom, is to be the thermostat, not the thermometer. I need to be able to control the temperature of the room. And I want to set it for this, and I need to work to make it get there, and not let the kids be the thermostat, where I'm going up and down based on what they're doing.
For sure.
I need to be the thermostat. So I think that's my biggest takeaway from classroom management. Figure out how you can be the thermostat and not the thermometer.
Yeah, I like it.